This is the David Mahoney Morning Show on X107.5.
So this is pretty awesome. John from System of a Down in the X107.5 studios this morning. It has been a solid 10 years, I think, since you were in the X107.5 studios, but it is great to see you again, my friend. How you been?
Nice to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
So yesterday there was all this news about Chris Cornell. I'm sure that it hit you pretty hard, too. What was your initial thoughts when you heard about it?
You know, I went to see Lord of the Rings with him.
Did you really?
You did?
Yeah, me, him, and Tom Morello went to see Lord of the Rings, and that was the first time I'd met him. It was around the time that Audioslave was coming out, and I can't say that I had a really good relationship with him because I didn't know him all that well, but he was super nice, and I know that Serge was devastated by it because they were very close.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. You know, I'd only had a chance to meet Chris a couple of times over the years. He'd come to X107.5 and done a couple performances for us, but just a really sweet guy. You know, I'd always... I'd always heard that maybe he could be difficult to deal with because sometimes, rock stars can be a handful, but Chris was, in my experience, a really nice guy. So pretty tough day yesterday.
It is, especially if you consider that, like, out of the three really big bands that came out in the 90s, three of their lead singers are no longer with us.
Yeah. Alice in Chains, Nirvana, yeah. Now Soundgarden.
And it just came out as, complete surprise, It was a somber day. It was amazing to be able to play, the entire body of Chris's work, be it his solo stuff, the stuff with Audioslave or the stuff with Soundgarden yesterday, but it was just the unfortunate situation. But the guy was just one of my favorite musicians of all time and, obviously touched a lot of people here in Las Vegas, as we heard yesterday from the show.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anyone that was better. Like, you just pick up an acoustic guitar and be able to do any original song or cover song and just captivate an entire room. Chris is...
The guy did a James Bond song.
I know. We played that yesterday, yeah.
He's an unbelievable talent. Yeah. And it's a big loss. It's a big loss for the rock community, and it seems like we've lost a lot of really important lead singers, guitar players, just randomly, unexpectedly. And
is that something?
Somehow the Rolling Stones are all still alive,
right?
How's Keith Richards? How is he still alive?
How is that possible?
He's done more drugs than anybody.
Yeah.
All of them combined, probably.
In the rock community, being a part of System of a Down, an enormous band that has had so much critical success. Do you guys find ways to make sure that you're taking care of yourself when you're not on stage and you have all of the people sort of looking after you in that moment? Do you have to make sure that you're not falling into that trap of just getting consumed by the lifestyle or whatever it is, your own emotions, or ending up getting depressed?
We haven't really had too much of a depression issue in our band.
Yeah.
The issue has been, which one of my band members am I going to kill this week? And somehow they've survived all this time.
Yeah.
Well, you look to be in phenomenal shape, by the way.
I'm in all right shape. My wife keeps me well fed. But, in our band, the difficulty really is one of us going to fall off the wagon or get into a bad situation. It's really a matter of, are we able to come together and make something happen. It's been about 12 years since we put out an album.
It's been a minute. I was going to ask you what's going on with System of a Down.
Well, I knew you would ask that question.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with System of a Down. I had rehearsal last night in L.A. and then I drove right out.
Last night you were rehearsing with the guys?
Yeah.
So the plan is to go back out on the road?
We have a tour booked
in
Europe.
Okay.
And I know what everybody says. Like, why don't you guys tour the States? Why don't you guys tour the States?
Specifically Las Vegas.
Specifically, of course, yes. I live here.
Yes.
So, that would be a very easy
hometown
show for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why we aren't coming out with an album. It's very disheartening.
Who's holding it up?
Nobody in particular. And the funny thing is, we all get into the studio. Everybody's getting along great. We have a blast on the road. And I know a lot of our American fans are saying, well, why don't you guys tour the States more often? We talked about it about 2 years ago. We said, look, we haven't made an album. At that point, it was a decade only that we hadn't made an album.
Only one short decade, yeah.
Only one short decade, because we have so many left.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and we said, look, let's make our album first. We had every intention of going in the studio and working on an album. As far as the timeline, everybody had their own opinion of when that was going to happen. For me, it was 10 years ago, and then there's varying degrees of that.
So you're saying that John is not the problem in the equation here. Like, if you had your way, you would have put out an album a decade ago.
If I had my way, we would have put out 5 albums in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And I think we're really doing a disservice to ourselves because you only have a finite amount of time. If anything proves anything, Chris Cornell passing away unexpectedly proves that at
52 years old, which is not that old,
It's not at all. It's not old at all.
Yeah.
maybe it was old. Maybe it's old to a lot of your listeners. But when that age comes up, and it comes up faster than you think, it's really not that old.
Right.
Literally at midlife,
Yeah.
It does put things into perspective, and you realize how much time you're wasting and how precious that time is. I don't know why we haven't made an album exactly, because it seems like we all get along. We all have a great time touring. We still are putting together really good music. I think that we can put out a fantastic album. Not a good album.
When you're talking about being in the studio last night in Los Angeles,
Literally,
I mean, you're feeling really good about the music that you guys are creating now.
Really good. As strong as I've ever felt.
Really?
Wow.
And to be honest with you, if I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't even want to broach putting together an album, because we do very well touring on our catalog.
Sure. I mean, you guys have so many songs that people know, and it's easy to go out on the road and
play a lot of them.
Of course, yeah.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of bands I wish wouldn't be putting out albums.
Yeah.
Because they haven't put out a good album in a long time.
Tell me, which bands do you hate?
I have a list.
We don't have time, Dave. We don't have time.
We don't have that kind of time.
No, so I mean, System of a Down is going to, step one is to do the European tour. And then you guys are going to figure out whether or not you're going to put together an album. Is that the plan right now?
That's the question, right?
So we still don't know the answer to that.
So we've been in the studio for the past year.
Yep.
And we put together about 15 songs so far that I think match or beat anything we've done in the past,
Match or beat anything
Match
you've
or
done?
beat
Wow.
anything we've done in the past.
That's pretty strong, yeah.
And I don't make those kind of claims without having something to back it up. We're better than we've ever been. We're tighter than we've ever been. We know what we're doing, and the songs are there. It's a matter of getting together and putting aside whatever differences or whatever problems people have, which don't seem to surface when we're together, by the way. It's almost like there's two System of a Downs. For me, there's a System of a Down.
Who's got a crazy wife? Who is it?
No, that's not.
That's not it.
We're good there.
You are?
We're
Okay,
there,
good.
We have everybody's got a great. Well, Darren's the only one that's not married. His girlfriend's terrific.
Yeah.
And of course, Serge's wife is my sister-in-law.
Oh, so all the significant others get along just fine. All
We
right.
did a 2-for-1 package deal.
All right, so System of a Down, we don't know exactly what's going on. We'll keep our fingers crossed here that there will be an album soon and a tour here in the States.
They'll be as crossed as mine are.
But I know that you have to keep yourself busy, when System of a Down is not touring, and you actually have something that you've been working on here in Las Vegas for a very long time, and this weekend is the grand opening. So starting today is the grand opening, right?
I have to tell you, when it concerns segues, I mean, that was as good as it gets. Right?
Thank you, John.
He used to host a show on the Sci-Fi Network with Chris Jericho.
That's right.
It should have just been called Segway.
It should have been
Fantastic.
And I would be riding around on a Segway.
It's better
doing
than
Segways.
Oh my God.
Couldn't be
Coming up
better
next.
unless you were riding on a Segway.
It's unfortunate that show did not get picked up for a second season. I wonder why.
One and done.
Yeah, it's
And here I am sitting in a room with Mahoney.
with me. Yeah, which I forgot to put on pants today.
Things are going great.
Nice legs, though.
Thank you. I walk a lot. I walk a lot.
Fantastic.
So tell us
calves are amazing.
Don't get them started.
They're
They'll never
hairless,
stop.
too.
They are. Have you noticed? Look at Mahoney's calves. Seriously, they're like hairless.
They're a little
halfway
hairless.
up the leg, he's missing all of his because of socks.
Because I've worn, like thigh-high socks for the last 25 years of my life, and it's ripped all the hair out. It's like
most people don't only have hair on the knee. That's a very rare trait.
it's a good look,
that
though.
very
Yeah.
You pull it off.
it's cushioning. Trust me.
So Torpedo Comics here in Las Vegas, grand opening of the new location going on this weekend, and you guys, I mean, when it comes to comics, have some really heavy stuff.
I don't mess around.
Yeah.
When we're putting out music, if it isn't the highest of quality, I won't even be involved in it. And when it comes to a comic book store, I really wanted to create something that if I was to walk into, I would be in awe. And, I know I sound very modest right now, but if this isn't the nicest and most interesting comic book store in the world, I want to find the one that is. Because you're going to be blown away when you walk into this.
And when you're talking about, an interesting comic book store, there's something for the casual fan and also the really hardcore fan. I mean, like you invest in comic books. What is the most amount of money that you've invested in a single comic book?
Well, the most I personally spent was in the $300,000 and up range.
Dollars?
But that book's worth $1 million now.
Wow.
So it's okay.
Which comic was it?
It was Action Comics 1, which is the first appearance of Superman.
Yeah.
And I actually bought that book for Jack White.
Oh, really?
I sold it to Jack White. So that guy's sitting on a collection of comics.
You bought it for $300 and sold it to him for $1 million?
No. That would have been nice.
Thanks, Jack White.
Jack's not that generous, unfortunately. No, we're talking like almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I got the book at the right price, which I thought was a really good price for that book, actually, at the time. And he's bought probably 20 or 30 books since then, and all of them have either doubled or tripled in value. He's doing very well.
How did you get into the, I mean, because I remember 10 years ago when you were at X107.5, we were talking about comics a little bit, but how did you get into the world of comic buying and collecting on this scale?
Well, I kind of worked my way up. You know, when I was a kid, I walked into a comic book store when I was 12, and I was just mesmerized by it. And it's kind of like what I'm trying to recreate here is that feeling for not just kids, but adults in this store. And, you know, I had a $5 allowance back then, and I spent the entirety of that allowance on comics. And I just got hooked from the first day I walked in.
And then you join System of a Down, you get $300,000, and you spend all of that money on comics, too.
It was a long road to get to that point. I spent a lot of $2 and $3 on comics before I got to the $300,000.
Yeah.
But, you know, for example, if you were to buy stocks, real estate, whatever you could afford to buy, you make money, you don't make money, whatever the case may be. I've never known anybody that lost money in comics.
Really?
Yeah. It's the best investment you can make.
Wow.
But your dad wasn't really on board at first.
No, they did something very nice. I got home one day from school, and I used to leave school early a lot. I'm not recommending anybody do this, but I used to leave a lot because there was a show on TV called Robotech. And it would come on right when school ended. So, of course, I had to leave early.
Well, you had to see the show.
I would have missed it.
You wouldn't miss it.
So I get home. And my mom and my dad are lugging my comic boxes out to the garage, to the garbage area. You know, garbage picks up late. I'm like, what are you doing? That's my comic books. You know, it's like thousands of dollars at the time of comics. And I lugged them back in. And honestly, had I not made it home early, I would have been out of comic collecting because there's no way I would have been able to.
my
So
God.
the moral of the story is if you don't cut school, you'll never succeed in life, kids.
Really, the moral of the story is lock up your stuff.
Your parents are not to be
Lock
trusted.
up your stuff. It's not theirs. It's actually your property.
All right, so where is the new location here in Las Vegas? Because people can come down this weekend, right?
Yeah, tonight we have an artist, very well-known comic book artist named Jim Lee. He'll be signing from 7 to 9 o'clock. The address is 7300 Arroyo Crossing Parkway, Unit 105.
So it's basically like if you're on the frontage road in between
Rainbow
Buffalo
and
and Rainbow.
215.
Yeah. Rainbow and 215 right there, exactly. Yeah.
Correct. And there's like a Home Depot, Best Buy. It's a massive
Walmart, all
complex.
that stuff in there, yeah.
We're right near Chipotle if you get hungry.
Oh, boy. I love that Chipotle.
I do
That's
too.
very
Spicy.
convenient.
That's my spot,
Spicy.
yeah.
Always busy, though. Always.
So
And
you-
then our grand opening is going to go all weekend. Tomorrow we have another very well-known artist named Art Adams. And Sunday we have J. Scott Campbell. And
So
if
bring
you're-
the family down, bring the kids,
Bring
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
Bring everybody you know.
And what-
Bring 10,000 people.
System of a Down is going to be doing a show there. No, kidding.
You know what? We have done Best Buy parking lot show once.
Really?
Have you?
Long time ago in K-Rock in L.A.
Yeah.
And it was one of the 2 shows that we did for free. They got shut down. Are we getting shut down or we just don't really want to play for free? I'm not sure which one it is.
Like, did John just call the cops on his own show?
Again?
Took the keg, hit it.
Please, it's out of control.
Why is there a paper mache drum set out there?
Well, look, obviously very excited about the opening of Torpedo Comics here in Las Vegas with, you know, the big extravaganza going on this weekend. Bring the family down, like he said. Rainbow and 215 in that big shopping center where everything is.
The autographs are free.
Oh, are they?
Oh, nice.
Everybody gets
Great.
up to 2 autographs.
Fantastic.
And, you know, we recommend bringing the kids because it really is an experience for them. We've gone to great lengths and costs to make this a really cool shop.
All right. Well, and keep us posted on what's going on with System of a Down, too.
And please come down, guys.
It's right here. It's right by us. So, yeah, we'll swing
I
over.
wasn't going to say that, but hey.
No, they know.
Everyone knows.
Nobody's
where we are.
stalking us.
No, nobody cares.
There's 12 people out there waiting for you.
It's because we owe them money.